Entering the Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by DraftKings. Week 6 rankings, debate by position. You want a position? You hit the time codes. If, let's say, you don't care about running backs, you say, I have running backs and they are fine. I know who I am starting, but I need to know who to start at quarterback. Well, it's easy. Click on quarterbacks and boom, you will be instantly teleported right to there. All right? Smash the like while you're here, sub to the channel and the audio podcast. Better sub to those and rate and review as well. The DraftKings Listeners League is now open. The link is down in the description. RunTheSims.com/Mayo will get you 10% off weekly, monthly, yearly to make your own projections. All the DFS tools, all the betting tools are up there right now. And Jake Ciely, the challenge, Ride or Die, Season 38 starts on Wednesday evening. I happen to have a free fantasy league that people can join. If you missed the show, it's up on Mayo Media Network, the preview to the season. The link is in the description of that show. So I recommend that you go join it and play for free because the challenge rules, Jake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought there was like that didn't sound like the end of your sentence.
No, that's it. I'm just making a very bold statement. The challenge rules. You should watch it and play in the fantasy league.
See, I thought that was the challenge rules are, and then you were going to keep going like these are what the rules are. So I didn't know that was the challenge rules. That's why I was waiting.
No, there's way too many rules of the fantasy league to really go through. There's like 300 of them. Basically, if you win or you hook up, those are the two things that you want to have.
Okay. I didn't. Season 38? Are you kidding me?
That's what we're at. Yeah.
All right. Well, good luck to everybody in that.
Yeah, well, you should come join. The rankings are down in the description right now if you just want the handy list versions of those. I'll update them every morning, and if there's huge news that happens. And we have a lot of weird injuries going on right now. We don't know exactly who's going to play, so I try to do my best guesses. Of course, again, this is a Tuesday when you're watching, well, you may be watching the show whenever, but we've recorded it on a Tuesday, so if information changes, let's say, I don't know, Thursday afternoon, it is literally impossible for me to know that right now. I know that 99% of you know that, but there's a 1% of you who are complete fucking morons and don't get that. So I have to spell that out for you. How about that? Let's get into the rankings. Running backs. To kick everything off, Saquon coming in at number 1 again. Chubb, Eckler, Fournette, McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Jonathan Taylor, who I have back in this week, Joe Mixon, Alvin Kamara, Aaron Jones, into Ramondre Stevenson at number 11. That is assuming that Damian Harris is going to be out, which looks like he's going to be out for multiple weeks. I'm pretty confident in that one. Breece Hall, Ken Walker, Kareem Hunt, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Jeff Wilson, Devin Singletary, David Montgomery, James Robinson, and Miles Sanders in at number 20. I have Najee Harris at number 21, Jake. Is Najee Harris going the way of Trent Richardson?
I saw somebody tweet that, and that's not the same situation. One had no vision, and one is it potentially the Liz Frank injury that's just bothering the entire year? The offense was doing nothing under Trubisky, which is part of the problem too. I looked at it, and in the 2 games that Warren's been seeing more touches the past 2 weeks, it kind of might be part of the game plan of defense is facing them, but whatever it is, it's strange to see 3 times the yards before contact for Warren versus Harris. Again, that might be because he's out there in a smaller sample, because when he's out there, maybe defenses don't exactly know the playbook as much as like what will be expected, because they sit there and study the playbook for weeks on end for all this entire, like, film. So Warren's not as much as a tell, whatever it might be. You're more concerned about the yards after contact and how Harris looks. And you could argue that Harris doesn't look 100%. So it's not Trent Richardson. We just had Najee Harris have an amazing season. Najee Harris has had a great fantasy career to start. It's just more of the Trent Richardson couldn't see his way through the line, and Najee Harris is now dealing with this. So 21 might even be a little bit high, just because the biggest concern here is if it's the Liz Frank, and then we get Mike Tomlin doing what Mike Tomlin has really never done, and that's split this backfield. The only time he's ever really split the touches is when Najee Harris went down or anybody before him, and he was forced to choose between crap options. So maybe you start to see more of a 60-40 split like we see with a lot of backfields these days. And you mentioned that he's out, but maybe Najee Harris turns into Damian Harris. And without that touchdown equity, it's, like you say, where you have him at 21, I don't know if I can argue much higher. The only one that I don't have a problem with right now is I don't think I would have James Robinson that high. The last 2 weeks of snap counts, and I know one was a muddy game with that weather, but Travis Etienne has been going up week after week after week after week, all 4 weeks in a row. And I know they seem to, as you like the term, Pat, the Jaguars seem to galaxy brain themselves with that matchup with the Texans. But I do think at least a split backfield is looking like it's finally happening for the Jaguars.
Okay, so you're not good with James Robinson at number 19. Where would you dump James Robinson down to? Like, would you play Zeke or James Robinson?
Mostert.
Mostert?
I would play Mostert. Chase Edmonds has been officially like eliminated from that backfield, which is what we never wanted to deal with that backfield, which is split. But the past 2 weeks, Edmonds is now no more than a high-end backup in case if and when Mostert gets hurt now.
Do you think that has to do with the quarterbacks? Like, if Tua comes back, do you think that we see more Edmonds?
I don't like the Edmonds usage even there. It was like it was the touchdowns. The play usage wasn't so much outside of that first week. It has really generally been moving in Mostert's way. And there was talk of, Mostert needed more time to get acclimated because also he was coming off the injury and the signing late and Edmonds was there first, blah, 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 blah. I do think maybe the quarterback situation might change it a little bit to be more of a 70-30 split, but as of right now, and hey, we don't have to worry about that at least for a week or two because Tua's not even practicing yet. So as of right now, I would go Mostert, then James Robinson. I would still play James Robinson over Pollard and Eno Benjamin, and that's Eno with no James Conner, right?
Yeah, I have James Conner out of the rankings for right now. I think that a lot of people will glom on to how much Eno Benjamin played against the Eagles. But you have to remember that was in a catch-up situation the entire time. I do think that we're going to get some more Darrell Williams in this game than just Eno Benjamin.
Yeah, and if there's no Darrell Williams, I think it would be if Jonathan Ward can get out there and be healthy, or they pick somebody else off the street as more of that between the tackles type. I'm with you. The comparison I keep making is Eno Benjamin is just now their Chase Edmonds. Is like, what had it happened 3 times where Chase Edmonds even got over 15 carries in the history of being with the Cardinals? It might maybe 3 or 4 times, but I think it's the same situation for Eno, is that maybe he gets there, and against Seattle, if they run a lot of plays, but I'm with you, is that I'm more concerned that whoever the more lead power back is takes too much away from Eno. But you have him in a fair spot.
I do think that regardless of who they end up bringing on the roster for this week in particular against Seattle, that you're just going to see a lot of passing go down because Seattle's going to push the pace on you and score a bunch of points. Who would have thought?
I know. And the good thing about it is that Seattle's defense is bottom 5 in both pass and rush DVOA, or not DVOA, EPA. So there you go. Boom. Hit them both.
Do you have a problem with where I've ranked like Ken Walker and Ramondre, not knowing exactly that, like, oh, they're the guys. We assume that they're going to be the guys and like 80%, 70% of the snaps in this backfield because I have Ramondre at 11, Breece Hall's been great. He's at number 12, and then Ken Walker at number 13. Those seem fair to me. Like, they look weird when you rank them. It's like, no, but that's actually how I'd play them.
That is the only one that I have a problem with is because, and we've actually touched on him quite a few times already. I would play Jeff Wilson over Kareem Hunt, and I put Jeff Wilson in that conversation. The Tevin Coleman pass catching down was just him. But this is why, because we've talked about Jeff Wilson as in whoever that role is. Elijah Mitchell, you and I had the same conversation then, is that, yeah, there is a pass catcher. We know Shanahan does not want to use whoever his lead is, as in you're the bell cow with the passing game work. It's basically, we run you 20 times, and that's the end of story. You might get 1 target. But that being said, as Tevin Coleman scored his rushing touchdown once that game was well in hand, I feel better about him than a split backfield of. It's definitely Edwards-Helaire. There's no question on earth I'm starting over Edwards. I don't care what the damn matchup is at Edwards-Helaire at this point. He's 0 yards saved by a touchdown this past week against the Raiders. Miserable night. And I know they were playing catch up a lot in that game, so that was different. But that being said, I would still start Jeff Wilson over him. But Ken Walker, Hall, and Stevenson, yeah. The thing with Stevenson, I'd be more concerned if Ty Montgomery was ready. He's not. Bill Belichick said he's probably not even going to practice this week. So the next man up is Pierre Strong and the other Kevin Harris that they drafted. And I don't think either one of them are going to cut too much into Stevenson's workload.
So, okay, I'll boost up Jeff Wilson and move him to number 14. I like your argument on that one. Do you see the rumors swirling about the Bills being interested in Christian McCaffrey? I feel like that would kill Christian McCaffrey.
I mean, it would definitely kill him from being top 5 and put him as a back end RB1 because like this is the same thing that I brought up to you, and we've had this conversation in comparison with Josh Allen. Not that you disagree, when I bring it up, is Josh Allen's the Cam Newton factor, but the backfield for Cam Newton when it was just McCaffrey was fine. McCaffrey was still top 3, I think it was that year. Like you can if you have one guy you stick with and you have that kind of equity there. And that's what happened with Singletary last year. Singletary towards the end stretch was a top 12 running back. I think he was actually top 10 during that final stretch when he was getting close to 20 touches, because if you stick to one guy, it's okay if the quarterback's taking what he takes because you're just one guy. The concern would be how much do they keep Singletary involved? How much do they keep? But anyway, I already met that anyway. I really don't think that's happening. I don't think we're going to see these trades that are floating around. As soon as the coaching change happened, it was Christian McCaffrey, DJ Moore, anybody who's ever good on the Panthers, they're going to trade all of them. And you know how often trades actually happen. So I'm not saying that there's zero chance, but I'd be surprised if it was me. I think there's more likelihood that DJ Moore ends up on a new team than it is McCaffrey.
Where do you think would be the best landing spot for DJ Moore? Because I keep hearing people say, oh, the Packers. I think Baltimore has to be up there.
I think he's got a similar. I think that definitely would, but now you'd be kicking Bateman completely aside. I don't know if that happens, and that may be similar to this backfield being the Bills. It's not a similar situation as we do have a clear one, but the other players like Duvernay and Bateman siphon off enough that his value, DJ Moore's value is going to go up if he can get away from the Panthers. No, because even if he ended up on the miserable Giants, he'd be up because, like, you would assume he would get more usage than this Baker Mayfield nonsense, and now they're turning to PJ Walker because he's hurt. But I think that Baltimore, now I'd like the Packers more, and although you know how I feel about Lazard. I love some Lazard, but I feel like that'd be a good situation. I can't see very many more situations outside of Green Bay where it's just like, oh, this is a guarantee, get him back inside the top 20. I think any situation would be better, but I don't know if we get any situation where we're like, ooh, DJ Moore's back to being that like 15, 16 wide receiver we always knew, unless it's the Packers.
Yeah, I actually think it's a pretty decent opportunity for one of these like afterthought teams to go after a receiver who just would never sign with them, like the Bears. For example, like the Bears aren't signing anyone good anytime in like the next 2 years. But this way, like you can kind of leverage your position at the moment, get rid of it to go acquire a guy who wants to get out of Dodge if they're going to be selling. You have a ton to offer up. It's not like they're going to offer him a first round pick when they're probably going to be picking like top 5 in the draft. But you could offer up something pretty juicy, and then you still have DJ Moore for 3 years.
You know what would be interesting? Tennessee.
Yeah, but the internet tells me Treylon Burks is amazing, and when he comes back from his foot injury, he's gonna be the best receiver in the NFL.
Oh, of course. You know what else would be intriguing? I don't know why I have to go so high pitched for that. The Dallas Cowboys. I like Michael Gallup, but definitively DJ Moore over Michael Gallup. And you put those 1-2, CeeDee Lamb and Moore. That'd be interesting when Dak Prescott comes back.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out like where the deficiency is going to be for them, because obviously their defense is amazing. They just need to continue this sort of play calling when Dak comes back. That's the weirdest part, and they won't do it. They won't do it at all.
They won't. You're 100% right there. Well, that's because Jerry Jones has too much input on everything. Oh, you know, it'd be very, very, very interesting if it wasn't for the combination of factors wrong. If it wasn't for the offensive line, the arm, the backfield, you'd be like, oh, look, put him on the Rams. But guess what? He's not going to be that much better than Allen Robinson when there's so many other things going wrong with the Rams.
David Montgomery returned last week and absolutely annihilated Khalil Herbert in terms of the touches. I didn't expect that to happen. I feel like, let's ease David Montgomery back in. Herbert probably still gets the 50%, 50%, 60-40, something like that. It's like the fewest touches Herbert's gotten a game all year. I don't understand how that happened.
And I've said in years past to you, Pat, I even mentioned it on my show. I say, if you see a running back who's playing well, and not even just playing well, but playing very well, and the incumbent that he was going to unseat comes back and they make him active, assume they're going right back to that guy. Because why else would you? Like, if the running back's performing poorly, then it's, of course, like, let's get our guy back out there because it sucks. Like, our offense stinks. He's not running the ball. He's terrible right now. Like, that's the art, so that you're like, oh, they're activating him. They're not going to do it unless he's ready. This one, I did what you did. Like, I should have listened to myself from past years, but the reason why I was with you, I actually had them back to back, I think, in my rankings, is because I was hesitant in the fact that he was all the way up to a game day potential and active situation. They said, hey, here's the inactives. He's playing. And I'm like, okay. Like you just said, maybe we take it easy. Maybe we do a 50-50. They're like, the NFL's a copycat league, and maybe they don't. But that's why as soon as you said his name, I went, ugh, because I did not see that happening. Khalil Herbert's officially back to being a high-end backup in the Jalen Warren conversation. Like, if you're in a league where Ken Walker's somehow sitting up there and Khalil Herbert's your lowest running back, you drop him. That's how bad it was in the first game back. I was shocked by that.
I have ETN at 20, and we've moved James Robinson down to 23. Should I boost? Are we to the point where we want to boost ETN over James Robinson, or are we still kind of convinced that if they get a carry from the 1 yard line, it's going to be James Robinson?
I think it's still James Robinson, and I joked and said that to you about that Galaxy brain themselves just because it was like, hey, everything's working for – so it's what you make the joke about Matt Ryan all the time. Like, hey, let me get to the 10-yard line, and they won't expect me to throw it to my best – or they're going to expect me to throw it to my best wide receiver, so I'm going to look anywhere else possible. That's kind of like that game. I was just watching the Jaguars because I went back again. I'm like, what the hell happened in this game? And it was target the living hell out of Marvin and Zay Jones, overthrows and deep plays downfield that, I mean, even Trevor Lawrence deserves blame in that game. ETN deservedly looked good and deservedly deserves more. That's a lot of deserves. More touches. I don't think it's there yet where he's fully in the lead or even a full 50-50. I still think we're looking at 60-40 just by a hair because of what you said. I think Robinson's still going to be the option inside the 10. You have to remember, and I'm not saying running backs can't succeed in the NFL. I'm not making a BMI or a weight cut, but Etienne's a slender guy. You're no matter how good he looks, the Jaguars are not going to give him 20 touches because just like other running backs like him, he would get murdered. He wouldn't last 4 weeks if you gave him 20 touches a game. But Etienne and what he does is amazing and great. That this is what we thought of in the preseason. So I think it's happening. I think we're getting close to the 50-50 split. But I would still lean James Robinson for those goal line opportunities.
Just going past, I have Michael Carter at number 30, if people were wondering. And then I have Melvin Gordon at 31, Mike Boone at 36. I just feel like we're to the point where I was so wrong about this Denver team. And maybe they'll turn it around, but I can't imagine like going and setting my fantasy lineup and feeling good about having any Bronco outside of maybe Cortland Sutton in it.
And even that's not that great. I mean, who would have thought? We're sitting here in week 6 and Geno's a better quarterback than Russell Wilson. The wide receivers for the Seahawks, both of them look better than, that includes Cortland Sutton, who's been consistent but not great in the breakout that we thought. Backfield, blah. Boone looked more explosive with a lot of those carries that he had that night. Not that Melvin Gordon is terrible, but I think we are in that concern. What you brought up last week, you were saying you thought Mike Boone was the better pickup than Algier. Mike Boone being a 50-50 split doesn't surprise me. It's the Mike Boone taking over where I know it's 1 week later, and I'm not saying you're definitively right, but if you told me next week we're having this conversation and Boone got 70% of the work and Gordon only got 30, it would not shock me you can't, if you didn't know who Melvin Gordon was and you just like looked at that game objectively, you'd be like, that running back looks better talking about Mike Boone.
I have Algier at number 32. Yeah, it's about as bad of a matchup as you can get against San Francisco, and they seem pretty content with spreading the ball around.
They do. Caleb, the good thing is that Algier got 50%, and then the other 50 was split with Huntley and Avery Williams. But we got Avery Williams with a goal line opportunity, and then Huntley. Actually, I don't even think Huntley got one in that game, which was the surprising part about it. But it's a 50-50. It's a 50 Algier and 50 the rest. I would feel better if this was against Seattle, but it's not, as you mentioned. And so I would not argue for Algier being any higher than that.
Anyone else from down on the list you think I should have a little bit higher? Or is this just kind of where we're at with 4 teams on bye?
I think this is where we're at with 4 teams on bye. Yeah, I can't really. Brian Robinson's intriguing maybe after this week. So that's another one. He got 20-something% of the snaps, but actually got the most carries. Antonio Gibson got the report. He's going to be used on the practice squad, which, yeah. So about that this is a full-blown committee, though. Brian Robinson gets, 10 to 14 carries, and then Antonio Gibson gets a handful, but also some passing game work, which just destroys McKissick, who gets only passing game work. I want to stay the living hell away from this, but they are playing Chicago, so If I did my rankings as of today, I might lean Brian Robinson over Antonio Gibson just because I think Antonio Gibson's time is done of being the goal line option. I think it's officially over now that Brian Robinson's out there.
Yeah, but now you have the circumstance of he might return a kick for a touchdown.
Yeah, what the 1 in 100 chance that happens?
Yeah, they're going to put him out there, see how that ends up going. All right, let's move to receiver for the week. Cooper Kupp, no surprise, number 1. Jefferson, Diggs, Chase, Evans. Hollywood Brown at number 6. Guy just does nothing but get targets. Now we get Seattle. Tyreek Hill, A.J. Brown, Deebo Samuel, CeeDee Lamb is the top 10. DK. I have T. Higgins in right now. We'll see if he ends up playing, but if he's playing, I'm going to play him, although I tried that last week. That didn't turn out well. Mike Williams, Olave. I don't know whether he's going to play or not, but I have him at 14 for the moment because I don't think that Michael Thomas is going to play again. I don't have him in the rankings at the moment. Lockett, Gabe Davis, Cortland Sutton, Devonta Smith, Amari Cooper, Michael Pittman. I read this, and I couldn't believe this if this was true or not, although it would really go a long way into describing Matt Ryan's arm strength, that Michael Pittman hasn't seen a target deeper than 17 yards downfield all year.
Is that true?
That's what I read this morning. I was like, I don't want to fact check it, but it sounds horrible.
I mean, I'm going to fact check it this afternoon. That's for sure. And the thing is why Pittman's concerning is because it seems when things go wrong, he's not even looking at Pittman. He's looking at Alec Pierce, which, yeah, I'm excited to be, victory lap that one. I'm not victory lapping it that much because that means just Michael Pittman was wrong at this point. It is. I'm going to look that one up.
It's from it's from your boy Rich Rebar. So Michael Pittman's longest.
Well, then I believe it.
Michael Pittman's longest target is 17 yards downfield this season. Despite missing a full game, he leads the NFL in hitch routes at 54. Wide receivers with a lower ADOT are all slot archetypes. So Amon-Ra, Paris Campbell, Dortch, who's like dead at this point, Russell Gage, Deebo Samuel, Curtis Samuel. These are the routes that Michael Pittman is running this year, despite playing on the outside.
That's disgusting. I was actually going to look at the air yards per target just to see like how low he ranked, but you just gave me a whole bunch of the names. You know what else I'm concerned? Oh, well, this is an interesting one. I'm going to look at his percentage of his team's air yard targets. That would be interesting to see too, because that might be high just because the air yards for Matt Ryan just suck ass. He still has, they're not that great. He's got 19.3% of his team's air yards, but that's alongside Duvernay, Waller, Everett, Osborne, Boyd, Claypool, to give you an idea of where he ranks. That's gross.
You can't give up on him, but it's not great. It's not what people thought they were buying at draft time.
No, if you could sell high in the name value and like argue like, a rebound, I'm willing to bite the bullet, that type of thing, I would do it. I was about to say, Christian, you have him run spot. I would go buy low on Christian Kirk. If I could do a 1-for-1 Pittman for Kirk, that doesn't happen a lot, but I would after that one game. That was the first game this year where Kirk hasn't gotten at least 20% of the team target percentage.
I'm with you. I'd rather have Christian Kirk than Michael Pittman from here on out, unless somehow Nick Foles starts playing quarterback for the Colts.
I got to tell you, if the Packers don't make a trade and you ask for my rest of season rankings, Lazard over Pittman.
I could see that. So to the 21 through 30, I got Kirk, Chris Godwin, Jalen Waddle, because I don't know what to do with these Dolphins receivers right now, but it seems like Hill is a bit more sticky despite the injury than Waddle for the moment.
That whole team is questionable right now.
Alan Lazard at 24, Drake London, Romeo Dabbs, Deontay Johnson down at 27. He should probably even be lower than that at this point. Brandon Ayuk, Juju.
I got 13 targets.
Yeah, did nothing with them. Brandon Ayuk, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Jacoby Myers at number 30. That's like the one great DraftKings play that I made last week. I was like, Jacoby Myers is active. I'll play him. He runs perfect Bailey Zappi routes.
Badly Zappy routes. The one who doesn't, one spot in front of him, Juju Smith-Schuster is down with. I would play Alec Pierce over him.
You play Alec Pierce over him? Really?
What do you have? 30 yards and he's
if he doesn't drop passes, then all of a sudden he's doing a lot better, right?
It's still the ceiling seems to be, and look, this is from somebody that I love, Juju Smith-Schuster as my wide receiver 4 this year. I loved it because it was like, hey, he's the number 1. Does it mean 25% target share? Absolutely not. But 18 to 20 with Patrick Mahomes, yay! Guess what? He's getting 18 to 20, and look at what he's done so far. That's with him getting, I think it's like 18.4% out after week 6 or week 5. I'm not sure where it is, but That being said, no, I'd play Garrett Wilson. I'd play Alec Pierce. He's not even catching touchdowns. There's like zero upside with Juju Smith-Schuster. He's basically your boy, Jacoby Myers. He's the worst version of Jacoby Myers.
Yeah, at least, Jacoby Myers caught a touchdown last week. Broke 100 yards.
But I'm just telling you.
Great week.
No, he deserves to be down. He deserves to be down there with Alec Pierce and Rondell Moore at this point.
All right, would you play Rondell Moore or Juju?
Arizona's got Seattle. I would play Rondell Moore one more week.
Would you play Elijah Moore or Juju?
I played Juju Smith-Schuster. There's one, and I'll admittedly, instead of taking a victory lap, I said this on the All in Football show today with stepmom Lauren. I'm taking the crap lap on Elijah Moore because I thought Zach Wilson would get him that boost back, that being Elijah Moore. That stretch run last year was split between Mike White and Zach Wilson, but it involved 2-3 games of Zach Wilson. And I thought it'd be a great duo of Elijah Moore and Garrett Wilson. But the problem is Zach Wilson came in, and it's not a duo, it's a trio. And the number one
is Davis.
Both games was Corey Davis. So it's Elijah. But that's the thing. Elijah Moore and Juju Smith-Schuster feel very similar. I think it's right there is a good range, good spot for him.
So that entire 31 through 40 range for me, it goes Bateman at number 30, assuming that he's going to be back. We'll see about that. Pickens, Curtis Samuel, Corey Davis, Michael Gallup, McLaurin, Thielen, Garrett Wilson, your boy, Alec Pierce, Rondale Moore, and now Juju at number 40. After that, wide receiver gets really thin this week with the four bye teams. I just want to throw that out.
It does get pretty gross. It's honestly really gross. And the fact, think about the fact that we're talking about Jerry Jeudy is down here. DJ Moore is down here. You would have told people Jerry Jeudy and DJ Moore are not even inside the top 40 come week 6. People would have told you're stupid.
If Bateman is out, how far up would you put Duvernay? I have him at 46 right now. Like, would he become top 30 or is it like right around there?
It's right around there. The Giants secondary has actually been pretty good. Not fearsome, not overly concerning. And you can get some options like Duvernay and Bateman that can do some damage against them. So I would put him I'd play him over Ayuk. Ayuk's boomer bust. We know that, and it's been very more bust this year than expected. Floor would be Myers. And then I think Ayuk, Myers, he deserves to be there, and I probably play him for at least a decent. He's kind of got like the floor, not of Myers, but he's got some of the floor of Myers and then some of the upside of Ayuk. So I would go Deontay Duvernay.
Okay. Is there anyone from like way down on this list? Like, are you a big? I don't know. I feel very good about how much I hated Darnell Mooney coming into the season, and he's terrible. Like, he's not personally.
2 weeks he's woken up.
Oh yeah, he's woken up with his 2 catches.
I'm just saying that's waking up when you're dead asleep and doing nothing. I would say there's an intriguing name you don't have at all, but this is only if he finally gets to play. And no, it's not Kadarius Toney because he's never going to play and he never matters. But Wan'Dale Robinson if he finally suits up for the Giants.
I'm not ranking any of these idiots until they get on the field. Like it's a hassle for me at this point.
I said if he gets on the field. Josh Palmer's done nothing in his opportunities for replacing Keenan Allen, so yeah, I would risk Wan'Dale Robinson over him.
Okay, well, I mean, I have Josh Palmer at 62.
I know. I just picked out a name where like that Wan'Dale wouldn't be inside my top 50. He would be in these flyer groups like Darnell Mooney or Wan'Dale Robinson. I could see that as a conversation.
Okay. Hopefully your team isn't suffering like that.
That bad? It's possible. I drafted a team way too good for 2023. I might be dealing with that.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's probably not a dynasty league, is it?
It's a keeper league, so I'm kind of okay. But like, yeah, my 3 wide receivers are Drake London, Dobbs, and I forget the other one. Traylon Burks is on my IR, but I wasn't even doing that for this year, as you well know. Oh, Garrett Wilson. Yeah, I got Garrett Wilson, London, and Dobbs.
I mean, for a few of those weeks, it turned out pretty good for you.
A couple. I love them kids. Oh, that sounded bad.
Oh boy!
I heard the laugh. I heard the laugh in the background.
Well, we know what the clip for this show is going to be.
Oh my god, that's the best! I heard him laugh in the background.
Yeah, when you can get a reaction from Paul, you're doing pretty well.
I'm in tears over here.
Let's talk tight ends.
I can't even see the screen. I can't. They're all blurry. Oh my god, that is out of context highlight film, top 5 all time.
Tight end rankings.
All right, tight ends.
You're worse than Feinberg right now. Cutting me off.
Taysom Hill, number 1.
Tight end rankings for week 6. I actually go with Travis Kelce at number 1. Andrews, Goddard, Ertz, Higbee, top 5. Your boy Njoku moving up the ranks. Kittle, who's apparently just terrible. Assuming Brait is out, I have Cade Otton at number 8. Hurst at number 9. Kyle Pitts at number 10. Freiermuth, if he plays, at number 11. And then Taysom Hill at number 12. Evan Ingram, Hunter Henry, Dalton Schultz, Cole Kmet. It's not great out here. But let's talk about Taysom. Mm-hmm. Here's the issue. Like last week was such an outlier for him. What was it, 4 touchdowns? 1 throwing, 3 rushing. But normally, if he scores a touchdown, it really only ends up being like 8 fantasy points, which is not really doing you any. I mean, it does you fine, but that's like the usual. Like that's usually his like 95th percentile outcome. What we saw was the 100th percentile outcome last week. So unless he scores 2 touchdowns for you, it's just sort of a. It's no different than Evan Ingram's 5 for 50. In fact, it might even be worse.
No, I think that's why he's in this conversation, though, and that's what I keep saying is that he deserves to be a back-end tight end 1. I even argue the way things are going right now, if you wanted to play, I don't know if I'd go that far, but if you wanted to play him over Kyle Pitts, I mean, how could you even argue at this point? Because this is who he is. He's not Evan Ingram. He's not Higbee. He's not Zach Ertz. Those are the floor guys. Those are 8, 9, 10, even 11, 12 points every single week. I mean, if you look at Higbee and Ertz, it's basically pencil in 9 and 12 every single week. That's just where they're sitting. He's in the Njoku. He's in that Hayden Hurst conversation where one week it's going to be 4, the next week it'll be 18, which is essentially every single tight end as soon as you get to number 8 because you have Kittle at 7. So everybody from there, you have Hurst, Freiermuth, Ingram, who's more of a floor, but Henry, up and down, Schultz, probably nothing until Dak gets back. So if you want to play him at that top 10 tight end, I don't have a problem with it because it's friggin' tight end, man. Like, just go for the upside or go for nothing. That's what we've been doing anyway. Little blips like Tyler Conklin before Uzama and others started getting more involved was a thing. We played Gerald Everett until Parham came back, as you continually kept saying, watch out for Parham, and you were right about that. That's why we're playing these guys. So Taysom Hill, if you want to play him, but yeah, this is the thing. People are going to say, why don't you have Taysom Hill at 5? Because of what you just said. He deserves to be a back-end tight end 1.
Are you good with Cade Otton at number 8?
A little bit aggressive, but if Brait is completely out, and I think it comes down to how healthy is Julio engaged too. I don't know if Otton gets that much work if Julio's out there and Gage is back to 100%. So there's a lot of moving pieces with the Buccaneers, but I do like him. I was on him as a very intriguing 2023 tight end, and you're already seeing why for the upside if he's officially out there. And then if Julio's out, and even if Gage is near 100%, I would feel good about him.
All right. Anyone else that we should like? You know who you're playing at tight end at this point. Like if you did have to stream someone, I guess Otton would be my choice because he's the most available.
Bellinger. And you have him super low, but I mean, the Giants keep finding ways to get him the ball here and there. He might get you a touchdown. I mean, you're streaming. That's what you're hoping for. You're hoping for a touchdown. You're hoping for tight end 12. Get a touchdown, and that's
I mean, I would if I wanted to try to find a touchdown. I mean, I don't think Bellinger's where I would look. I mean, I would want to go to an offense that actually might throw for a touchdown.
So where else would you look? Mo Alley Cox?
Yeah, or that other guy, Jay maybe. Woods on the Colts. Jelani Woods. Yeah, that guy.
Robert Tonyan, who's just droppable at this point.
Yeah, but at least those teams pass.
See, like I'm looking at your rankings, and not like coming for you on your rankings, but essentially everybody after Hunter Henry and Schultz included until Dak gets back. Screw Kmet at 16. Screw Eric Sauber. Like you just said, I would just go for whoever I thought was going to score a touchdown. I'm not chasing touchdowns, but all these guys getting 3 for 40, I won't even waste my time with.
I mean, Will Disley then isn't probably the worst idea in the world.
Yeah, there you go.
In what's expected to be a pretty high-scoring game against Arizona. So, if this was like,
and he might get 2 every so often.
If this was 5 years ago, you just have the flow chart. Who's playing Arizona? Are they a tight end? Play them. Then Will Disley. Boom.
We're getting back close to that, honestly.
I mean, Goddard didn't score last week, did he?
But he had a nice game.
He did have a nice game. That's true. Quarterbacks. Josh Allen, number 1. Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson. Okay, those are the top three. Mahomes is number 4. Then, Brady, Kyler, Geno, number 7, Joe Burrow, Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins. I went to go because I actually am streaming quarterbacks in my main league that I'm in. So I streamed Wentz last week. That actually turned out really well. He threw for almost 400 yards somehow in that game. I was really, really begging for that touchdown at the end. I mean, not somehow. It's what Carson Wentz does. But it just seemed like a really good spot for him. It's like, oh, yeah, they'll probably be down, have to be throwing. But Geno is actually legit. I'm gonna ride this one out until it goes like tits up.
Oh, you mean like Jared Goff last week?
Yeah, I think we saw that.
I say that because
we saw that one coming.
We did, but we didn't know that was going to come last week like it did and go that sideways when he had Amon-Ra St. Brown actually active, and he just did it the week before without. He threw freaking 4 touchdowns without Amon-Ra St. Brown the week before.
Yeah, don't play Jared. Don't play Jared Goff outside. It's that easy.
Well, so there you go. Well, that holds true. So don't play him outside. That should be the tell going forward. But yeah, I think the Geno is ride it until it dies. I just don't. I was bringing that up to say I just don't want to see it happen this week. And everything's set for it to be a nice game against Arizona at home. It should be, but I don't know if I could pull the trigger over Joe Burrow. Not that he's looked great. Actually, he's at New Orleans. Yeah, I think I'm okay with that.
I'm good. That's actually where I got to with a lot of this. I was like, I want to play Geno. I want him to be my high streaming guy this week. How high can I actually put him in the rankings? It's like, well, Burrow's been and they're playing New Orleans. I mean, not that Geno lit up New Orleans in New Orleans last week, so it's doable, most certainly. But yeah, if Higgins is still banged up a bit, who knows with him, and maybe that the pass rush for the Saints reappears and reemerges at some point and starts dropping Burrow on his ass. Who knows? Rodgers is God knows what. Some drives he's good, other drives he's absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
Cousins, I mean, if you could pick the half you want Kirk Cousins, that would be great, and pair him with another quarterback for another half, but you only get 2 good quarters out of him. And then Herbert's playing Denver. I'm terrified of this Denver defense against quarterbacks.
I was just about to ask you, what's your reasoning behind Herbert? Is it specifically this year too? Because Herbert's hasn't every single game so far. He hasn't, and I know this isn't this year, but he's never had a problem with Denver to this point, even in Denver.
Denver hasn't had this defense in 6-7 years. And Herbert?
Okay.
I mean, Herbert should have lit up the Browns last week. And what was he, quarterback 23 on the week?
I think he really needs Keenan Allen back. I'm looking right now.
Do we think Keenan Allen comes back?
I don't know. I don't know why this keeps going further and further back. I got to tell you, I still think, even after everything you just said, I still think I would go Herbert over Rodgers at this point.
I was surprised at how much they passed last week. For a team you can run on the Giants. They decided not to do that.
Yeah, that was kind of that seemed like a little bit like the Jacksonville thing too. And then even try with Jones and Dillon when that's why they got the 2 batted passes at the end of the game. Just throw, and you were having rushing success too. No, that was a weird one. I think it feels like the Packers and the Jaguars both fooled themselves into losses last week.
I wanted to rank Fields a lot higher because you can definitely throw on Washington. It's a Thursday night game.
The problem is
he's not
Fields can't throw.
I mean, Fields can bomb
that too.
He can if this is just 7 steps and
throw
bomb it or run.
Throw well.
Yeah, that's going to be it for him. I mean, it's a tough week. A lot of low end quarterbacks with bad matchups is not a great recipe for. I mean, Zach Wilson, I have at number 12. He's never thrown for 300 yards in his career.
I mean, that's where do you have Matt Ryan? Yeah, not that I want to push him high at
20.
All. He's facing the Jacksonville defense is actually better than people realize.
No, it's good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is the Cincinnati pass defense. It's really good.
Yeah,
I really don't have a problem with the rest of your rankings.
And then you got Bailey Zappi, Skylar Thompson, Kenny Pickett, PJ Walker. You're not playing any of those guys. I mean, maybe Zappi because the Browns defense is actually secret bad.
Man, Twitter is freaking hilarious. I even came for your boy Endercuss too. The praise that Daniel Jones, Zach Wilson, and then even down to Zappi got. It was just be a quarterback, and oh my God, they look amazing. Dude, they threw 200 yards and no touchdowns.
Daniel Jones did not look amazing in that game. I'm not going to lie to you.
No, he didn't. Zach Wilson made a decent throw or two, but how many touchdowns did he throw for? 200-something yards. Okay, the Jets won that game. Breece Hall and Saquon Barkley won those games.
Yes.
Ramondre Stevenson won that game too.
Defenses. I got two fun ones inside my top 5. So San Francisco, Tampa Bay. I think those are going to be 1-2 for most people in some sort of order. Then I go Bears, Commandos, Jags, Rams, Packers, Patriots, Browns, and Cowboys. That's the top 10. I just think Bears and Commanders, this shit show on Thursday night, just play these defenses.
Oh my god, yeah. I actually had them as 2 of my top streamers for them, and then I had the Jaguars last week and holding on to them for this week, and nice to see them inside the top 5 against Matt Ryan. Watch Matt. This is gonna be Matt Ryan's 350 and 3 touchdown opus. Watch. This is what we're coming for now.
Hey, Matt Ryan had a 350-yard game in Week 1 against Houston. They tied.
I know. Yeah, he has two 350-yard games already, and I don't. Yeah, I think you got all the streamers in your list. Where do you have the Jets?
I don't.
I just feel like if they go that pass happy again, you might get a turnover or 2.
You might.
I would play them. Nah, I'm looking at your top 17. I don't even know where I would slot them in. They would be like that would be a DraftKings play only.
Yeah, well, that'd be like, hey, I really need to take a chance that's outside of the box. I don't think you need to do that in a season-long league.
No. I was just trying to see if there's any other sneaky sleepers, but this list, we're also dealing without 4 teams, matchups in both, not their defenses, because I don't think there's really great defenses anybody on bye, but matchup plays. Yeah, I think you got a good list on defenses this week. You do defense as well. We do defense as well. That's how we finished, what was it, number 2 that one year?
Yeah, maybe we can finish number 1 this year. That would be fantastic.
I know we hit the 15th mark after week 4. I forgot. I didn't even check after last week yet.
Getting to number 1. Well, it's going to be tough because I didn't rank KC or Buffalo this week. And I could see like one of those 2 teams having a good defensive performance because there's like a pick 6 or something like that.
Yeah, I was just about to say, you give up 30 points, but you got a pick 6.
I don't want to take that chance with those teams.
No, because then, depending on your site, if you get the 35 points or more given up, all of a sudden you're hitting negatives, and it's big negatives.
Yeah, that's never any fun. All right, Jake Ciely, at AllinKid on the Twitter machine. TheAthletic.com. Your rankings come out this evening.
They do. I was just thinking in my mind of waiting for when you tweet this with that wonderful clip from before.
You do love kids. This we know. Love them kids. Halloween's coming, Jake.
I'll be out with my nephew. I won't be home. Next week. See you then.
See you next week. All right, if you guys want to play in the DraftKings Listeners League, the link is down in the description. Smash the like button to the episode, sub to the channel, sub to the podcast. And if you want the rankings list themselves, the updated versions, obviously you can find those down in the description and up on DKNation.com. Thank you all for watching. I'm Pat Mayo. I'll see you next time.
Pat Mayo Experience! Experience!